Oh, hello. Uh,
Why, hello.
I wanted to do that just once. Folks, welcome to Amped Up with Cliff Schecter. I am Cliff Schecter, now multi-platform, not just on Substack, but we are on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn. I think we've got some skywriting going, perhaps on the seventh circle of hell. We're everywhere. I'm lucky enough today. David Schuster has the day off because David has worked hard. You may have seen as he helped break a story earlier this week on other war crimes we're committing in the Venezuela area. So, he's a hard worker. Not that my bearded friend over here, Lawrence Winterman, is not also a very hard worker. In fact, Lawrence works his arse off. He's got his daily whatever show every day. Actually, Saturdays too, folks. You should check it out. I think it's 10 o'clock. I believe it's 12 on Saturday.
That is
Go
right.
watch it. He is also the COO here at Indy Media, and I have to tell you, and no bullshit, no whatever. This would just all be a big collection of like papers. It'd be like snowing in my office, and the desk would be sort of tilted to the side, and I mean there'd be gremlins running around. I mean, quite seriously, this operation works because Lawrence came in and is a former big shot in Silicon Valley who knows how to make things work. So I am excited to have him here. Thank you for being here, Lawrence, and co-host.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be here. I was gonna, make some joke about my boss being a harsh taskmaster or something, but
dude, your boss is
let's
an
be real. I'm your boss, basically.
Harsh task. Like your boss is a dick. Okay, sorry. Let's not start with the bad language this soon. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
But we have a lot going on. You may have seen a tanker was kidnapped. I'm not really sort of kidnapped. Trump said there were terrorist-like things going on, which I think, honestly, I'm talking into a microphone. He could just say that's a terrorist-like thing. So he's moving well along the Hitler-Stalin scale.
Yeah. In fact, I think Pam Bondi released a memo saying that, essentially us talking into microphones is a terrorist thing. I don't know if you saw this, Cliff, but right before we started, Carolyn Leavitt was giving a press conference. When
you say Leavitt, do you mean like her husband that's 85 years old, or do you mean something else?
Yeah. I mean, the one who wears a cross and tells lies for the administration every day. That one,
like Jesus would do, right? Okay,
just like Jesus would do, exactly. Sermon on the Mount, something. Something.
The rich are the only ones who can get into heaven, and kick the lepers whenever you can.
Right. Take away everybody's health care, etc. She was announcing that the reason that this particular Venezuelan tanker was interdicted is because it's chock full of Iranian oil. And we are, in fact, going to keep the oil in a big shock to nobody. And it's because it's dirty Iranian oil.
Yeah, and in all seriousness, I bring, to just discuss this in a way. My background initially was international affairs, and I did some things, as I said before, with the State Department and whatever. I only say all that to say that I know a few things about this. I'm not just trying to speak out of turn.
Right. You're kind of smart.
No, it's not. Maybe not. But it is an area that even before domestic politics was my background, and I'm saying like this is as act of war as active war gets.
Yes.
We've just committed what is, I mean, it would be the basis for if anyone ever did this to us, are bombing them. And as you know, we don't even need them to do to us. We just start bombing their fishermen who we claim are drug mules, but never show any proof of anyhow. And then we let them stay in the water and bomb them again, or we put them on ships and disappear them, as Melissa Corrigan and David Schuster wrote about at our place.
Yeah, we
but
delete
the point
the evidence.
Right. The point is like this is an out and out. Like bombing those is horrific. Don't get me wrong, but bombing those boats, you can try to make a claim as we have, and it's it's almost it's murky. It's like, well, are they running drugs? Are they doing whatever? It shouldn't be murky, but it is. There's nothing murky about this. This is a Venezuelan ship, and we have taken custody of it, and now we're stealing their oil. This is as much a provocation as you can have, and they would have every right to attack us.
Yeah, she was asked if they did it because they suspected that there were drugs on it, or if they knew that it was full of Iranian oil. And, she gave a murky answer of just, basically protecting southern border, we're at war on drugs, America's allowed to do anything it wants at all times. So go
Well,
us.
and it fits right in. They just put out their national security strategy statement. This is a sort of regular thing that these administrations do. It's just normally it says the same thing, which is, hey, we're a proud member of NATO and the West. It's great. The post-World War II rules-based order and international law. It's brought peace. It's brought prosperity. We trade with our partners. We do all of this. This is the first one, which some people noticed right away, where it's like, yeah, we don't like NATO anymore because they're letting in people that are changing the character of their countries.
Right.
Huh, who could that be? Must be Norwegians or something.
Yeah.
And therefore, we're going to pull back from our actual responsibilities. Like, we signed this thing, but okay. In NATO, we also are going to pull back on trading with them. We've already seen the repercussions. Canada is stopped pulling back on trading with us and trading with China more. Many things of that nature, which is harming us and costing us jobs, and that's what Trump is doing. But also, so it's in defense, it's in trade, it's in just multilateral relations. But of course, it said nothing negative about Putin or Russia or China, because they see the world in the way we all saw it in the 19th century. They want spheres of influence. China gets their area, so bye Taiwan, Japan, do whatever you want. Russia gets to do whatever they want in Eastern Europe and huge swaths of Central Asia and the rest, and
Well, you see,
all Latin America.
Here's the thing: when you that NATO security statement, when you translate it from the original Russian,
That's right. It says, "I like borscht, and also I like."
yes, yes.
I think we need to invite Carlyn Beccia here, because
it is absolutely time to bring in our amazing guest for today, Carlyn Beccia. I've met Carlyn a couple times. One of my favorite things about her is that her last name is pronounced like you betcha. Carlyn Beccia, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I have to just ask right away. What do you know which part of Italy, of that wonderful island, the Beccia name comes from?
I'm actually
island. I was thinking Sicily for a second, but go ahead. Sorry.
I'm Sicilian. You know what that means, don't I?
No, that's my wife's part Sicilian. So the last 2 summers we've gone back. We still have some family there. Like, I can put hits out on. I'm just kidding, but like, the food is awesome. Have you been back at all?
The last time I was in that area was probably, I want to say 15 years ago. Yeah. It's Florence. I'm a big Florence fan. I love Florence.
Florence is great.
Florence is amazing.
I'm biased in that. I mean, I love Rome because I'm a history guy, and then Sicily, like the even just the Roman history there. I mean, Sicily, the history, just because the Moors came through, the Greeks came through, obviously the Italians. I mean, it's the history is just incredible because of all and the food's delicious and the beaches, and I'm a big fan. So, we have a Sicilian on the show. I'm excited as hell now.
Awesome. You have a mutt from all those people coming through.
Awesome. And we have a mutt who is an incredible writer and has written some really, I think about 47 books, I believe I saw, or is that too many? Seriously, you've written a lot of books.
I am on my 14th and hopefully my 15th. My agent's shopping right now. So
nice.
Wow. That's like more, even more than me. That would offend all sorts of people, how many books you've written. Being that you are a successful author, you are now in Substack, you're obviously a big success there. You've got ideas that I think are important, crucial. You wrote a piece just recently talking about when we are suffering under authoritarian, and be they fascist, communist, but authoritarian types. And this is something we've talked about in this channel a lot, which is, yes, it's falling apart right now for him. And you can see it everywhere with the internal civil wars and him and Marjorie Taylor Greene and, Candace Owen versus Nick Fuentes and, all this sort of stuff. But the worst people like that on the way down often thrash around the most and can be really, really dangerous. So I wanted to ask you about your piece and have you share that with our audience, because it's a little bit scary, but people should know.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many. I started brainstorming with another friend, all the people throughout history, all the despots who, did not go quietly. And, I'm sure you've heard the expression, evil always overplays its hand. With these types of authoritarians, they never go quietly. And you can see the threads start to unravel. They will start tightening the screws, and these screws will start screaming. And we are about at the screaming point.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, go ahead. I'm going to kick it to you, Lawrence, for your
Well,
maiden.
I mean, Carlyn, as usual, it's a beautifully written article and so many salient points. And I don't know why I kind of got fixated on the Emperor Domitian. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name correct in Rome. And just this idea that he kind of went from this like regular law and order conservative into a guy who basically saw sedition and treason everywhere. And that feels eerily familiar.
So he's Scott Jennings, basically. All right.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, that's the thing with populist leaders. They get elected due to their populist views. And once they are no longer loved by the people and adored by the people, they start to turn into megalomaniacs. And now Trump got a head start. So it will be interesting to see how this evolves, because we would be considered at sort of competitive authoritarianism would probably be the best way to describe it. But as we get, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Venezuela, because that is seriously a, can I say dick bag? Can I say douche?
Oh yeah, you can
say
say
dick bag authoritarian move. I mean, we're not just flirting with authoritarianism. We're getting in bed with it right about now.
Yeah. I mean, I would say we've now proven sort of on both the domestic and international fronts. I mean, obviously, from the moment they started putting on masks, not identifying themselves, and ripping people out of cars and buildings, and hog tying children, that is as fascist, as authoritarian as it gets. So we've seen elements of it, sending the national, ignoring posse comitatus, and sending the National Guard into cities, which again, for people who are fans of history, that was a move that Caesar did. They called it crossing the Rubicon, because you weren't supposed to cross that river and go into Rome with your own troops, because they knew what would happen when you brought your own troops in. And we set that up for a reason. So we've seen some of that, but you're right. Like, he's adding to his portfolio, because again, grabbing a ship and just making up some bullshit excuse. And it's an act of war.
right.
I don't know what else to call it. Like, I think it is the most provocative act of war. This is officially, what we've done with these guys, bombing them, is just vicious, cruel, sociopathic, evil, and it's a war crime. What he's doing with the boat, though, like, it's flying under a Venezuelan flag, and we've grabbed it. That is that I believe is quite officially an act of war.
Well, and it's like you said at the top, Cliff, like if it was something that had been done to one of our tankers, we would absolutely respond as if it were an act of war, right? Like the American public would be screaming for it. Yeah. Carlyn, what do what's your take on kind of this news that just broke about the fact that it's Iranian oil and that we kind of interdicted it on that kind of on those grounds, essentially?
Well, I just wanted to comment on the psychological aspect. 60 Minutes went into Venezuela, and they tried to do an interview with Maduro, but of course he was like, "No freaking way! I'm not an idiot. I'm got a price on my head." So they went to the streets and they interviewed Venezuelan people. People who could speak English, and it was they weren't angry. They were terrified, because every single person their reaction was, "Why us? Why us?"
Right.
And America would be the same way if we had a hard resource that we know they wanted, and land strikes are next. Trump's already threatened land strikes.
Yeah.
So that's the logical step. And we should be prepared for that. And we should be, Gen X especially, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting flashbacks of Iraq. Like, this is very triggering. And we can't go through this again.
No. And again, your comparison's perfect. A friend of ours who has a great Substack too, Jonathan Larson, broke a story where there's even There's even the curveball element of it. If you remember curveball, the right wing, that was the nickname given, right wing Iraqi wealthy guy who wanted Hussein gone and fed us all these lies about WMDs and the rest so that, to get us, and I think they knew they were lies. They just wanted to go in and do it. But it was sort of, that was the sort of fig leaf we hid behind so we could go in. Well, there's two of these jackasses now, expatriates from Venezuela who are wealthy right-wing, types who, and one of them had CIA connections or was in the CIA, and they've been whispering in Trump's ear, and you'll never guess what it is, of course, that the election was stolen from him in 2020 by the machines over there and that kind of bullshit. And Trump again, his whole definition of everything, which I've written about before, is do they like me or do they not like me? And liking him is bribing him and breaking the law for him and doing whatever he asks. And not liking him is anything he doesn't want you to do. And so these guys are saying what he wants to hear, which is he really won because it's such a damage to his psyche that he lost in 2020. And so there's that. But then, hey, they also happen to be brown people, bonus for Trump. And they happen to have oil, bigger bonus. And so, and it fits in with this whole spheres of influence thing, which feels a lot like the cover story bullshit they put out so that they can say, well, that's in our sphere of influence and we have the right to do this. You just, when you look at all the dots and you put them together, you start seeing where this is headed. And you're absolutely right. If we don't do whatever it takes to speak out, and expose everything we can about this, we will be in a land war there. It's inevitable if we don't stop it, which sucks.
We talked about Sicilians and now we've said land war. I feel like somebody needs to make the obligatory Princess Bride.
Yes.
The only mistake you forgot was never discuss. I don't know. I can't do it
death,
justice.
Don't discuss. It was a death with it. Never play a game where
play a game of death with a
Sicilian.
Yeah.
The only
Sicilian with death is on the line.
Slightly less never get involved in a land war in Asia.
Yes, exactly. There you go. Thank you, Cliff. Bring it home.
If you combine both of those, you get where we are right now.
It's like you're playing Risk. You know what I mean? I know that's a callous comparison, but it really does feel like, or I should say, Trump feels like that he's playing this dangerous Risk board game.
Yeah.
And doesn't understand the consequences, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like to him, it's literally just a board game. And to the rest of us, it's, whether we are going to live, be an aggressor country that, is at war by Christmas, which feels increasingly like.
Yeah. And the most infuriating part of all of this is the world is moving away from oil. Even the Middle East is. It's just, it doesn't even make sense. But it is, to understand Trump, he's just everything. He wants it now and he wants a price on it. And he will sell anything that isn't bolted down. So to him, thinking long term, you could argue climate change is our most dangerous hurdle that we have to overcome now, because climate change will lead to wars. And he's doing nothing to stop climate change. Humans should be pulling together and doing nothing but working on that problem. And that isn't happening.
Right. And meanwhile, China has deployed more solar and wind than like every other country combined, essentially. The massive rollout of green energy in China is kind of the underreported story because they see the writing on the wall. They see where we're going with fossil fuels and climate change. And, unlike us, they have fully committed to a future that is not revolving around fossil fuels.
Right. Yeah. And we know, look, go ahead, Carlyn.
I just wanted to throw one fact to it. You have to remember, China has a 2 million working force of robots.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been to China. I would love to be there. But people who go there, the first thing they say is, you will not believe the amount of advanced technology they have.
We only have 2 working robots, JD Vance and Elon Musk. So, I'm really sorry. It was right there.
Don't forget Miller. I wrote a piece about this.
Right. Yeah, I was going to throw Melania into the mix, but that's obvious dangerous territory. So
yeah, there's probably a few more robots in there too. But you also look at the fact that this China's government is not an altruistic government. So if they're investing this much in green energy, it's because they see that quite rightly as the future, as where the place to invest, because oil will run out. I mean, it is not, it doesn't go on forever.
Yeah.
And yet, but you're right. Like Donald Trump is, he's a goldfish. I mean, 30 seconds later, he's forgotten what he said. He's always living in the moment and saying whatever crap comes into his head. And he just got also interesting along these lines, right? I think was it today or yesterday? The federal court struck down his ban, which of course was just crap, was him sort of spouting what he felt like. I'm banning, wind energy. Okay. Well, the court struck it down. So, I mean, of course, it's just, although if he bans wind energy, how will he talk? Okay. I'm done with all of my jokes. But I mean, like we're just going in the, as you said, Carlyn, we're going in the opposite direction of where everything is headed.
Yeah.
We're all headed towards more cooperation, and we move away more in the direction of these autocrats. We're all, headed in an area of green energy. We're like, hey, let's go back to the caveman ways. I mean, obviously, on racial relations and on gender relations, everything else, same deal, right? So, I mean, just in every way you can head backwards. That's been his goal. Some of it to gain, I think, politically, and some of it just because, quite frankly, he's an asshole. I don't know.
Don't forget science. I mean, the first thing authoritarians attack is science.
Yeah.
Right. They have to. There can't be objective truth, because then everybody will know everything they say is full of shit. So I mean, we can actually prove that there is climate change, gravity works, supply side economics is crap, and these are there's things that are scientifically provable, and they can't have that. Oh, and vaccines work, but we've got crazy whalehead, dead cub, brainworm.
Yeah. RFK Jr. So,
I'm predicting the first to go. My friends and I have a cabinet pool where we made bets on who's the first to go, and I picked RFK back in January. So,
all right, we're rooting for you, but I think Hegseth might be kind of moving up in the yeah. So, Carlyn, I'm not sure if people know this. You've got 2 Substacks, and one of your Substacks is called The Grim Historian. And I mean, all of your writing is fantastic, but I love this one because you take, fun or interesting or quirky or terrifying facts from history and kind of expound upon them. And I was going to ask you about, so you wrote another article not too long ago on The Grim Historian about authoritarianism and the dual state, right? That idea that Ernest Frankl coined about the way authoritarians kind of make things look normal. Could you kind of maybe let the chat know, what that is and kind of explain the article a bit?
Sure. So in every, as before democracies fall, historians have noticed, and I use Nazi Germany as an example, but you can see this even in Jim Crow America, where you have, as authoritarians take power, there's a normative state, and that's the layer where, the trains run on time, you pick your kids up on the school line, you still have a Netflix queue, the courts still run. And then there's a pejorative state, and that's where those people, there are a certain number of people who are prosecuted and their rights are slowly taken away. But you don't take everybody's rights away, because if you take everybody's rights away all at once, then there will be too much, people protesting in the streets. So you always have to have a normative state where people's lives are not affected by the administration. So I wrote that piece. You can probably sense some of my rage in it, because there are a lot of people in America right now who are still saying, I do not want to talk about politics at all. This is a no politics zone. Right. And that's exactly how you get a dual state. You get people who are like, it's, when someone says it, and I'm not saying, politics should be your obsession. You have to leave room for joy too. But if you do not address what is happening, you are basically feeding the dual state. And that is how genocides happen. And if that sounds hyperbolic, then look at every genocide that's happened. If people have to look away, it always starts with indifference. So that piece, if you sense a little anger in it, it's because I'm getting tired of Americans saying, no politics, we don't talk politics here. We are so past that. We are so past that. And if you're burying your head in the sand, I tell my apolitical friends, just read one piece of news per day. That's it. Read it like Heather Cox Richardson. Read this podcast. Listen to
Read
podcasts.
Blue Ant Media. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just handle it in
How about
small
read Hannah Arendt? That would be a good one to read.
Yes, like you can't. We are well past looking the other way at this point.
Well, it has that eerie feeling, right? Whenever you see certain movies and or TV shows, whatever it is, and everything just kind of looks normal on the outside, and you can pick any number of of those, and they almost they do that on purpose, right? Because you get that eerie feeling of this is an authoritarian society. We've just changed this couple things, right? So it's just the handmaids who've lost their rights. Everybody else, things are great, and that kind of thing, and this has been difficult for me. I'll be honest with you, because there've been there's a couple friendships I've had where I've had to sort of put my foot down in certain places and say, no, I'm not going to not discuss this. I'm not going to not take a look at, as somebody who is trained in history and does understand international regimes and all that. Like, this looks exactly like how all of those start. They don't all end up, because sometimes people stand up, and a great example more recently is Poland, where they went through it for 8 years and they were able to come out of it. But again, this is where it begins. And if you do not stop it, and you let all the people who say, I don't want to do politics, and it's like, that's nice. Do you understand what's happening? Can you look away from the news when children are being gagged and thrown into prisons? Can you do that? Can you ignore like the missives that come out from this crazy piss cotton candy haired lunatic? Sorry, I steal that one from Penn Jillette, who referred to his hair that way. This in the middle of the night, these crazy like truths or tweets or whatever.
Right, 160 in a row or whatever it was
Right.
last week. Yeah.
That look like they came from somebody who's in a padded room somewhere, like,
Right.
I mean, I just, that sort of has these people that have, as we mentioned the name of this whole thing, this bloodlust, where they seem to actually enjoy people suffering, enjoy people dying, bombing the boats. It's like a video game. I mean, no, you can't, because even if that doesn't bother you, and God help you if it doesn't, we'll get to those next phases. You let them get away with this stuff, it doesn't just stop. Like,
I want to make a handy note for the two of you and for the chat. Call me crazy, but I think if you post a 500-word tweet in the middle of the night about how much you don't have dementia and how you aren't crazy, maybe you have dementia and you're crazy, right? Like, it seems like a big tell to me that you feel the need to. Right? Yeah. Methinks he doth protest too much. I don't know if you saw that one. I can't remember. The days blur together. I can't remember if it was last night or the night before, but a screed on how he passed all of these mental health tests, that some of which don't actually exist.
Man, woman, person, camera. I mean,
giraffe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, you remembered 6 words in a row. Amazing.
Incredible. You get the nuclear button.
And he took the MOCA. It's the MOCA test that he's referring to. And I watched my dad take the MOCA test twice. And I remember every time he was like, you want me to draw hands of a clock? Like, because my dad's fine. But, at 86, they try the neurologists, want to track these things. And I think the American people have the right to see the results of that MOCA test. At least.
No, absolutely, we do. And the MRI scans, right?
Yeah, and my MRIs too. I keep saying now, release the Epstein files, release the Venezuelan files, release the MRI files.
Right. Release your taxes, nothing ever gets released. He talks a lot about it all.
Yeah.
I was going to put this comment up there by Jim Williams, one of our great moderators. And Jim, I wrote, I don't remember a while back, but I wrote a piece on this because, when Trump talks about violence, like when he would see stuff in the crowd, he'd be like, when somebody used to act like we just beat the hell out of him, and he would get physically excited about it, right? And I'm not saying the other way.
It thrills him,
maybe, but I don't even want to think about that, or I might hurl. But I mean, he does. He gets excited by violence. It is something that he loves. In the way he talks about it. And there's just no doubt. And I think that there is a through line in MAGA who are like this, right? Who enjoy this stuff. And it's, hey, maybe we should put our video in here for a second.
Oh yeah. Hey,
let's see if technology works. It's me, so I'd give it a 50-50 chance at best. But let's see.
I'm coming in a little under 50-50, Cliff, to be perfectly honest
That
with you.
really hurts my feelings right there. I just want to let you know.
Yeah.
I really do kind of not only want to see them killed in the water, whether they're on the boat or in the water, but I'd really like to see them suffer. I would like Trump and Hegseth to make it last a long time so that they lose a limb and bleed out a little. Like, I'm really having a difficult time ginning up sympathy for these guys who 10 seconds earlier almost got taken out by the initial bomb, but because they managed to get ejected, a little too soon, had to be taken out in the water. I realize legally it may make a difference, but truly, Mark, this is a tough case to really gin up the sympathies of the American people.
Yeah. Right. Bloodlust.
She wasn't hugged enough as a child.
Really wasn't. I mean,
Really?
well, think about for a second, just because I find that whole back and forth with those two fascinating. We have Black Santa hater Megyn Kelly, who got kicked off of. She got kicked off of NBC News, was the Today Show, whatever, because she sucked and people didn't want to watch her because she's not a nice person, and she's not. In the morning, you want to wake up to somebody fluffy, not somebody telling you Santa is white and Jesus is white, and But the Santa one, it was just like that. That's where we're going. We're going to argue about fictional characters now. Okay. And so you got her. She got paid $60-something million to leave. Like, pay me just 1/10 of that to leave anywhere. I'll go. Just tell me where to go. But so it's not like she needs the money. And I think before that, I think she may have worked on Wall Street or something of that nature. Her husband works on Wall Street. They're drowning in money. There's no reason for her to be like this, except for she needs attention and she enjoys it. And she enjoys being cruel. Remember, she, like 2 weeks ago or whenever it was the whole thing was, well, they're not 8-year-olds. This is her defense of what happened with some of those in the Epstein, the horrific Epstein book, and all of the cases of these kids that were, yes, raped, because that's what it is.
Right.
It's
even
not,
when they're 15, it's still rape because 14, they're still children.
Yes, they're children, Megyn. But she was, she was like, it's not like they're 8 years old. So there's her. And there you have Mark Halpern, who was fired for masturbating in front of interns from ABC News.
I forgot about that one.
Oh, yeah. He would pull his pants down and do his thing in front of interns at ABC. And he was a both sides right-wing shill even back then, would always sort of anything that happened, one of the first, if I remember, to call for Clinton to be impeached. Right, because sex is bad unless you're doing it to yourself in front of an intern. So, I mean, these are the two people that are having this conversation, right? Like this obviously these two people that were fired from media organizations, one for being a blatant racist and one for being a blatant self-toucher in front of people. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And yet like he's not saying anything. He's just sitting there and sort of nodding along. And like, it's that bloodlust. You just want to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, again, like we can't gin up sympathy. Maybe you can if you explain to the American people that these guys won't release any evidence because we have no actual proof that they're doing anything with drugs. They're just a couple guys out fishing, for all we know. They were returned to them to their countries, Colombia and Ecuador, both of both presidents, exonerated them and said we don't have enough proof to prove that these guys are. So we now have a lower standard, I guess, than Colombia and Ecuador. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. That's Trump and that's the right. Like you can talk about it. You wrote all this, the things you've written, Carlyn, on authoritarianism, but that's a part of it too, that you get these people that actually are excited by committing violent acts against other people. You know what I mean? I think there's cases in history, but I don't, and again, I use the R word. I know that can be triggering for folks, and I apologize. I don't know what else to call it, but I mean, Idi Amin was infamous for that, with all sorts of women. the violence is sort of part and parcel to the whole thing. They're not doing it reluctantly, I guess is what I'm saying. And so that should concern us as to what this person might do as everything is falling down around him. And we're seeing it, right? I mean, that I think we talked about in our last show yesterday, that Gen Z poll that he was +10 when he was elected, and he's now -46.
Yeah.
I don't know how you alienate 56%. That's impressive.
Well,
But
Gen Z voted for him. We were the highest cohort to vote for him, so that's why I'm like, oh, Gen Z, what were you thinking?
Gen X. Gen X voted for him.
I'm sorry, Gen X. I meant to say
no, but the kids voted for him too, right? Like in this poll, he was +10 with Gen Z.
A lot of young men did.
Well, I think that was his approval rating. I don't think he actually got a majority in the election, but he got a much higher, and he won like it's always us. So let's just admit it, Lawrence. He won men, like college-educated men. I think it was all men, but college-educated men under was it under 25, under 30, whatever it was.
Yeah. In Gen Z, he won men. I think white young men voted for him.
He targeted them as a group with all the bro podcasts and all that. They're telling you can't say things that you used to be able to say, and and blah 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 blah. I mean, that was a big part of his campaign. The only other group that he has as precipitously crashed with, which I think we saw in the Miami election the other day, are Latinos and Latinas, because I think there were some people, and it's a sad part, it seems, of human psychology, that when you come over here, you say, well, I came here legally, or I came here sooner. And, these people just, as if it wasn't because they were desperate, right? I mean, my origin is family origin, we're not religious at all, whatever, is Jewish. And if we'd been on the St. Louis, we would have been turned around and sent back to Nazi Germany to die. I mean, yeah, they came here and they didn't come here legally, but they did it because they were desperate. And it doesn't mean that we don't need to have real laws around our border, like fair, treat people humanely. But yeah, you do have to have a border. You do have to have laws. You do have to make people follow those laws. But you can do this in a humane way, or you can do this the way they're doing it. And there's just, and I think it's finally gotten to that point where some of these folks that voted for him because they thought, well, it's just those other people. Suddenly a cousin is who has a green card or is in line at court to get their papers, or, whatever it is grabbed and thrown out of the country. You're like, yeah, it's you too. Not sure what you didn't get about this and didn't put together, but they weren't just going after people who were criminals. It's a whole project, white replacement theory. They want this to be a majority white country. They want to make it that way, keep it that way. Yeah. Texas already, if I'm correct, is not a majority white state. New Mexico definitely isn't.
Right.
And whatever, and they're scared of that. So this is a way to get that done. And but in any case, hey, I'm not going to say I won't judge those that voted for him, but glad that they're coming back to their senses now. And being that it's Miami even gives me more, it makes me even a little more optimistic and more sanguine about it, because there's such a heavy Cuban population, which has been the only one, because of Castro and the history, that often was Republican. So even they are looking at all of this and saying, this is insane.
Right. Electing the Democratic mayor in the Miami
by 20
election.
Points, 20 points. I mean, that's, so in any case, I'm sorry, rant there. What should we talk about?
The comparison that I don't see a lot of people making, and we really should remember this, is what America did with Japanese internment camps. If you remember, during that time, people didn't object, people didn't protest. What they're doing now, the cruelty, you remember that famous article, the cruelty is the point?
Right.
I would argue that the cruelty is also the cruelty is also the tipping point. I don't believe, and I could be wrong about this, but I predict most Americans will not stand for this. We will form human shields around our neighbors, because these are our neighbors they're arresting. The cook, the tamale seller, they're not criminals. That's becoming clear, so they can't use that argument anymore.
Right.
It's not going to be like Japanese internment camps, which were horrible, but no one objected. So that's the thing about evil. When you're a MAGA psychopath like Stephen Miller, you don't understand the capacity for pro-social behavior.
Right.
And most Americans in this country They will not stand for this kindness. And I don't care if I sound like a hippie chick. Kindness
You
is
really
going to win
don't.
this time. It's going to win. They're pushing it too far.
Well,
You
and we
don't,
could
because
draw.
you can see it in the reactions people are having. People that even were in
Yeah.
favor of deporting people and whatever are looking at these pictures and they're horrified.
Right.
It's how we ended up getting civil rights, because that was on TV, what Bull Connor was doing,
Right.
whatever. And even people that probably were somewhat racist themselves, still looked at like children being fire hosed and said, oh my God.
Well, and we can draw a straight line, right? Like, think about it. Have we ever seen the inside of an ICE detention facility up to this point? We haven't. No pictures, no video. Very few representatives have actually been allowed to go into the facilities that they've approached, and there's a reason, right? And Carlyn, it's just like one of the other articles that you wrote about, the human capacity to accept evil. Like the banality of evil, where the banality means that it's just so commonplace that you're inured to it. And you've got photos in one of your articles from, I don't remember if it was Dachau or Bergen-Belsen, but one of the camps that, we look at them and it's repulsive. We're horrified. And the reason they're not letting us see into ICE detention facilities, the reason that we're not allowed to see the videos of those two guys that got blown up, the reason we're not allowed to see the deleted videos of the other men who were pulled out of the water, one of them in very, bad medical condition, is because we would be horrified as people, as humans, to see the suffering of these people. And they can't allow that. Elon likes to say that empathy is dead. He wants empathy to be dead, but it's not dead in the hearts of Americans.
Not dead.
Yeah.
And we have our phones. We have our phones. We have the most dangerous weapon in our pockets. When we take our phones out and we record the atrocities that they're doing, that becomes a weapon. So everybody needs to get out their phone. Do not impede arrest. Do not stand in the stay safe. Use your phone to document what you see.
Absolutely. These are some of the things they didn't count on.
Right.
And they're really stupid for not counting on it, again, because we all know that what led to the end of Vietnam, or helped lead to it, what helped lead to civil rights, were, again, the imagery. And we didn't have anything like what we have on our person now to be able to record these events. We needed newscasters with those crazy old cameras, doing it so that we could see it. And of course, today they probably wouldn't even do it as much, just because both sides and they're corporate owned and all that. But we have people doing it, now. And you're absolutely right. And that's one thing that has sort of made me, I would say, given me optimism, because there's an incredible capacity for evil and cruelty. But the fact that even a lot of folks that weren't originally with us, or maybe we just didn't vote or did whatever, have looked at these images and been horrified by them, says that, there are places that still shock Americans and they can't go. Because I got to be honest, I couldn't have told you that I would have been sure of that people would react that way. I was worried they'd react in a slightly different way and be like, cool, the way Trump would be. So that makes me feel a bit better about, us as a people, let's say.
Yeah. I have this theory that I should write about at some point, which is, if we win this time and we must, when we win,
there's no, I got kids.
No, there is no,
I've got
you're
children.
right.
There's no option to lose. I will not lose. I don't care.
It is going to be because we have the full-throated voice of history of the Nazi, Mussolini fascist era, those examples. And because we are, to your point, Carlyn, so connected via the internet, that things are going to get really scary at the moment where they realize they need to turn off the internet to prevent us from connecting with each other and sharing the videos that finally kind of bust everything wide open. But it is I think the ubiquity of our connection with each other that is ultimately going to be the thing that is going to enable us to win and push back from this terrifying moment in history. Carlyn, I'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah. Let me shut up. Go ahead, Carlyn.
Don't give them any ideas. That's what I think. I'm like, no. Turning off our phones. Like, can you imagine if they figure out a way to turn off our phones as soon as they come near an ice sensor or something? I mean, they're gonna have to find ways to silence our connectedness. And it's kind of ironic because it's our connectiveness, it's social media, which is largely to blame for where we are at. The misinformation and disinformation spread on social media. Historians will look back at this and say that was our biggest bugaboo to overcome. And it's kind of ironic that what divided us may also bring us together in the end.
I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I do think, we've always been an experiment in how many immigrants we took in, and it's so easily, I think there's some evolutionary biology in there and some other things for people to distrust and hate those that are different, especially if they haven't experienced them, haven't gotten to really meet them and whatever. In this country, I mean, you go to certain countries, go to Switzerland and walk around, go to Japan and walk around, and most people actually are of one race. Like they have not taken in the same number of immigrants. They've not done this. It's why in some of those countries it's easier to enact certain reforms like universal health care. And that's not an excuse, because plenty of countries have that are not like that. So don't get me wrong. But some of these things, because people feel like, oh, it's for people just like me. In this country, they can always say it's for those people,
Mm-hmm.
But I have been heartened that, we do have, at least post World War II, and certainly since the Civil Rights Act and whatever, had a long period of time, there was a consensus that immigration was a good thing. We were all Americans, that we do believe in our founding documents, even if we didn't live up to them and still don't in some ways. We were always trying to improve, and it has heartened me more to see that culture, some of that really is instilled in people enough that when they start seeing this behavior, this violence, this sort of cracking down on innocent people, that they do have or maybe just because it's kids, they have the capacity for compassion, that they're like, no, because I mean, it's very clear if you look in the polling evidence. And I never just trust one poll because for obvious reasons. I look at all sorts of things, that people started turning against Trump on immigration when there started being all of this imagery on TV of these essentially SS, or Stasi looking guys going around and doing this shit. It just, people were like, people at least had and some people, if they weren't compassionate, maybe had enough intelligence to be like, that could be me at some point. I don't know, but it's, it definitely has made me, that is one of numerous things that's made me feel like we're going to come out of this on the right side. As I said, I will not accept anything less, because my children will be raised in a democracy. So if we fail here, then I'm going to live in Sicily. I'm going to become one of those old guys sitting in the rocking chair like Al
Right.
Pacino.
In the blue zone, right, where you live to be 193.
I'm gonna be like, like Al Pacino at the end of The Godfather 3, where I'm just like, ugh, and I just fall out of the rocking chair, and they just, roll me over into the Mediterranean, and we're done. I feed sharks or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I'm and I joke, but I'm also serious about it. Like, I'm raising my kids in a democracy. I want it to be this one, like very, very, very badly. But if we don't do it here, I'll keep fighting this fight wherever the hell I am forever. But I'm not raising my kids in an autocratic country. I'm just not.
Well, we kind of referred to this already, and Carlyn, I'd love to hear what you think. Pam Bondi has a memo out that basically starts to classify pretty much anybody they want as a domestic terrorist. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, so Ken Kimpelston broke that. It's a leaked memo, so that's important to note. This was not, because they released an executive order that basically was a softer version, but they got into details with the memo. And let's just say it's broad. It's very broad. It uses language like anyone who's anti-American, anti-Christian. What does that even mean? What does it mean to be anti-American?
Right. I have
as Jewish men, are we anti-Christian just by our very
existence? If I have a Festivus poll, is that a problem for them? Or
I mean, it's the language. It's the language in it that is terrifying, because it sets the blueprint, to do exactly what every authoritarian has done, and declare everybody who opposes the state as an enemy. If you have this broad dragnet, then anyone he's basically trying to silence dissenters, and everyone needs to understand that is their end game.
And we have to, I think, hopefully we talk about all this a lot here. People do understand this, and have come to kind of, an understanding of that every step of the way we want to fight, because here there's no safe harbor for fascists. We will mock them. We will rip them. We will go after them every way possible. There's no safe harbor for weak, wimpy Democrats. And I don't mean, I want to be specific. The ones that are weak and wimpy, the ones that are willing to fight, I'm right there with you. But if you're not willing to hit back, if you're not willing to message against them, if you're not willing to call them out for what they are, I'm going to call you out for not doing your job.
Right.
Corporate media, every day I find a way to rip because it's a fucking joke. I mean, yeah, I've got a great idea. Let's take the 60 something entities or whatever that existed in the 1980s and have them all gobbled up into 6 corporate behemoths. I'm sure that'll work great for society. I mean, we learned these lessons from the Nazis in that period of time to not do that. Why we had rules like you couldn't own more than one media outlet in the same market, and all these sorts of rules that we just let go by the wayside. And that's on us too. Some of that was, look, and I worked for Bill Clinton, and I still think he did a lot of great things, but the 1996 Telecommunications Act was horrible. Obviously, a lot of this happened under Reagan, where getting rid of the fairness doctrine and allowing that allowed for the rise initially of Rush Limbaugh, and it's spurred on 1 billion copycats, and there's a lot of behind it, and most of it is the right's fault. But sometimes we have been too timid about standing up and stopping it from happening. We're doing it right now, right? I mean, I guess maybe there isn't much we can do right now because they're running things. But who is it? I think Sinclair is about to take over Scripps. Scripps is based here in Ohio, by the way, here in Cincinnati, which, I mean, it drives me nuts, right? Like, and I mean, I wrote a piece. So the only place that ever paid me to go on TV and spout my opinions was Sinclair. I was the liberal analyst. I promise you, I didn't go on and play the patsy. I went on and I thought, but I saw them from the inside. And so when they were going to take over Tribune a number of years back, I wrote a piece for at the time for the Times on just what I saw there, and I mean, it just, you walk in and it feels like Pravda. It doesn't feel like a news organization. It's just, it's propaganda at its very core. And we learned those lessons from World War II. And that is what's so frustrating is so it only took us, in some cases, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, depending upon which period you want to pick, where we got rid of some of the media regulation to get to just forget, what media consolidation means in the end. But in any case, okay, I'm going to shut up. It's just, to me, those are the 3 biggest challenges. Democrats who don't fight hard.
I had one idea. This is the only thing I could think of as far as this Bondi leak, because, it targets Antifa. I think we should have a national day where everybody changes their icon and just say, I am Antifa. Because if everybody is Antifa, they cannot target specific people, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to, obviously Antifa is an ideology. It's not a group. But if we all say we're Antifa, and I normally I hate ideologies because they cause problems. But if we all say, yes, I'm anti-fascist, all of Americans should be anti-fascist, then they can't go after all of us.
Right. A national I am Spartacus moment.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm with you on that.
Idea. Sorry. Other than that,
that's a great idea, because again, that's solidarity. That's everybody joining together. Because I'm like you. I'm not a fan of ideology. Ideology feels a lot like religion to me, which feels a lot like you have to believe in every aspect of this. And I don't. Like, I'm an independent thinker, and being an independent thinker has meant that I have almost on most things, come down on a pretty liberal side, because, as Stephen Colbert once said, reality has a liberal bias, but I didn't do it because I was like, well, I have to think that way because I belong to this. I don't think that's the way to do it. And the way to do it is to have transparency and have science and have honesty and have history and have all of that. And guess what? I think the majority of people, if well educated enough, will come down on our side. But we have to fight to get there, And so for now, to circle back to what you're saying, I'd love that. We just have to talk to enough people with enough sort of social media influence that could join us, so enough people would do it. But I know a few of those types who I think would do that for the fun of it. And maybe we'll return to that But before we let you go, we're at 2:56. We definitely have a little bit more time. Like I want to know why you love goats, why you don't like monkeys or cherubs. I need to know more about what makes you tick, Carlyn. I do. And I'm looking at this great Carlyn Beccia .com/bio. So I'm looking at this great bio of yours here. And I'm learning about you. I'm utilitarian. I only eat ugly animals. It's so much easier to eat the ugly ones, isn't it?
Right? I mean, fish are not that, they're not really squeezable and huggable.
No,
So I'll eat fish, but a cow with those little eyelashes and they say
tough,
moo.
isn't it? I feel like honestly, like that is my biggest area. I try so hard in life and everything I do to not be a hypocrite, right? To be like, at least if I suck at something, I'm going to own it and be like, I suck at this. I'm not good at this. I'm bad at this, whatever. But this is my biggest area of hypocrisy, which is I love like cattle and, and like, in other words, cows, horse, well, I don't eat horses, but all those guys are adorable. And yet I love a good steak. And like, I don't know what the hell to do.
If I cook it, I do not want to eat it. Is that weird? But if someone serves me up a steak, I'm like, yes.
Go to the restaurant because then you can pretend like it wasn't really alive at one point. You're like, it came that way. That's how it was born. But I admit it, like that's my biggest worst. I agree with you. Like turkeys, I'm sorry. Unless you're doing like that scene from Sarah Palin where they're all being mushed up behind her in that famous video. That I don't want to see. But in general, if you're a turkey, I'm sorry, like you're just not that hot. And like I can eat you. So is that what it is with the why you love goats? You think they're cute?
They're very intelligent and their eyes with the little pupils. It's so
goat eyes are crazy.
Yeah. And they look at you just so intelligently. They're just, I'm telling you, if they didn't have hooves, they would replace dogs.
Oh, it could happen. They're already like raccoons are domesticating themselves. Who knows what's next?
Right. Yeah, it's just hooves are murder on a wooden floor, though. So
that's a good point. You need good carpeting.
Yeah, nice carpeting can't stand up to hooves.
But okay, so I gotta say this then to you then, because monkeys I find cute. Okay, they fling poo. That's not their best trait. But like, what is it about monkeys that you don't like?
They're just dirtier versions of us. Like there are worse selves. Let me.
Have you been to a MAGA like get together? Do you really think monkeys are dirtier?
Are you sure? Monkeys over MAGAs.
Are you really sure the monkeys are dirtier than all of us? I
shouldn't admit this, but I watched from beginning to end that show Chimp Empire, and I was fascinated by it. And by the end of it, I just came away thinking, God, they're just thugs. They're just absolute thugs.
Oh, okay, fair enough. We've got Amos's pony here. Foxes are becoming domesticated too. See, we could have a fox soon as a pet. That would be fun. And other, again, like as long as Lawrence and you are okay for another 5 minutes or so, because I want to talk politics, but I also we didn't get to it. We kind of got right into it, and you're fascinating in that. You've written all of these books. You're an illustrator, so I'd love to hear kind of what some of among these various talents you have, like what your passions are. What do your books tend to be about? Which I should know more of. And if I had done more reading ahead of this, then I probably would know, but I'm a dumbass. So I'm going to ask you right now.
My books are the books I wish I had as a kid. Like I hate sanitizing history. My next book is a diversity book, and in publishing, that's considered anything that's DEI. So people think that, you get on the banned book list, that's a good thing. It is a horrible thing. If librarians ban your book, which my last book was, and they don't even tell you the reason why either. But diversity books are out right now, which is, I'm going to keep doing them. I told my publisher, I'm like, well, we'll just keep writing every diversity book possible. If they won't have them eventually.
Yeah, fuck them if they can't enjoy a good time.
Seriously, when the pendulum swings back.
It does. It does.
Yeah, you'll have like this wealth of books out there. Suddenly we'll go back in the direction. Everybody will be like, where are the diversity books? And they'll find all of yours and you'll be like a gazillionaire. So there's that. But do you write on other, have you written on other, like, are they fiction, nonfiction? Are there any kids books in there? Are there
Kids, I do mostly
ask you probably
history.
one question at a time would be better, but
I do mostly history and science. Actually, most of my books are, I would say they targeted middle grade boys. So I speak to a lot of boys, and it's always interesting how, I know this gets a lot of airtime, but boys are really hurting. Like when I speak to them, they need role models. And if you think about when we were back kids, there was a big message that girls could do anything. And we definitely took that ball and ran with it, but we never really had an empowering message for young men. And so I try to write books that empower young men, try to find interesting role models for them. A lot of biographies. My last book has a lot of positive role models for young boys. And
tell us the names of some of them so people can,
I'm looking at one right now on your bibliography. I would have loved this book as a kid. I might actually get it now because it's called They Lost Their Heads: What Happened to Washington's Teeth, Einstein's Brain, and Other Famous Body Parts. From the kidnapping of Einstein's brain.
These are, if I ever get back to writing books again, it's these kinds of books that I would want to write.
This is such a cool concept.
Carlyn. I want to write a book called like along the lines of that. And I don't want to cut Lawrence off from that because that does sound like that's awesome. But I want to write, everybody's like the best presidents ever, the worst. I want to write one just called Mediocre Presidents. And that's mostly the Ohio ones. So I'm right here in Cincinnati. Like I can just go for a drive and there's Garfield, and there's like Rutherford B. Hayes. He's worse. He sucked. He threw away Reconstruction, and that's a whole nother thing. But like all these mediocre, William Howard Taft, and I mean, we are the home of mediocre presidents. And I just want to go on a trip to their various museums and write about like, okay, he did this, but he kind of sucked at that, that kind of thing. The only one that I would, I can think of as an Ohioan, I'd put in the great category. And I think, a lot of people have been saying lately, he's been getting, doing great. And it feels like Trump, what I was about to say when he was talking about what's his face. But Grant, who people don't know, the original, my background, I did graduate work in history and just never wrote a dissertation. So, but Grant, the original school of historians who were the lost cause historians of the early, the late 19th and early 20th century, basically turned Grant into a corrupt, drunk caricature.
Oh yeah, Trump did that. He made a comment recently that he said Grant was, which is not true, by the way.
No,
it's not true at all. Grant was not an alcoholic. I don't know.
No, he did it for a very specific reason, because he was to the left of Lincoln on civil rights. He actually believed that not just that we shouldn't have slaves, that there was literally full equality between whites and blacks, which for that period of time was some serious radical thinking. And so while he was president, as you noticed, that's when we had black members of Congress and senators, and because he very strongly enforced, Reconstruction and fought back against it. And so those guys, and it's driving me crazy, it was a school of historians, Harvard, Yale, these places, all these lost cause assholes. And I'm forgetting their name. It helped lead to Birth of a Nation and all this other racist propaganda, and helped lead to the resegregation of things like baseball, which had been integrated. And, and we didn't get all of that back until for 60, 70, 80 years later. And Grant had actually been in favor of all of that. So Grant, I can't include in my Mediocre Presidents book, but again, like I just want to go write about fun and interesting topics where people will learn stuff, but it's so it sounds like that's what you do. I mean, my God, Washington's teeth. What else is in there? What other body parts are missing?
Einstein's brain, Louis XIV's heart.
Yeah. I mean, what happens to people after they die matters. I mean, it's sort of the misadventures of their lives. And, even with Lincoln's body, what we did to Lincoln is a travesty of justice. But
oh my God, I don't know anything about it.
I don't even know. And I
have to read the book.
I'm assuming because it's a kid's book, you don't have Rasputin's weighing in there.
There you go.
It's so
just
funny.
You see this Lefty Gramps jumping in with this. I mean, There's a
I
classic.
tried to put Napoleon's penis in that book, and I got so mad at my editor because that book is for middle grade to teen, and they would not let me put Napoleon's penis in. And it was a fascinating journey of how it got passed down through different historians. Eventually, it was owned by that big musclehead. I'm not going to remember his name. He owned that Muscle magazine. Oh, it's going to come to me.
Oh,
But yeah,
Joe
Napoleon.
Weider?
Yeah, I think it might have been Joe Weider.
Yeah.
Again, I wasn't allowed to do Napoleon, so.
Yeah, I've got to tell you, I was this close to doing sweetie, let me tell you the places I haven't been allowed to put Napoleon's penis. Oi!
All right, so give us I want what's one other fascinating book like that you've written? You know anything like that that's interesting along those lines of missing penises and heads and stuff. What do you got there, Lawrence? Do you have it in front of you?
I have so many windows open. Carlyn, jump in quick while I go back to
Also,
your
good book.
bibliography
Another
page.
good book we should get, because these are things like you already that book. Like my boys are both history fans, so I can get that for one of them. Is there another cool, interesting history book that like another kid might like?
You know, I did a book called Monsters. It's the science of monsters. And that one did surprisingly well. I was actually, I shouldn't have been surprised. Monsters are always a hit, especially with boys. But I explored the science behind, like, what if you became a vampire? Which you want to drink out of a vein or an artery? Like, you need to know the circulatory system, kids. So I basically teach science through each monster, like the scientific possibilities of each monster. Like if Godzilla came to town, like how do you survive a nuclear fallout? The zombie.
Can I have your career?
I
mean,
Right.
This is awesome. And
This-
go ahead.
This one sounds cool. I feel better with a frog in my throat. The crazy things that people have done to try to feel better. What is this about drinking a glass full of millipedes?
Yeah, so I mean, it's crazy because some of the cures throughout history, they've actually worked. I mean, even things like leeches. I mean, obviously we can use leeches to reattach limb. If you lose a limb, you want leeches because they will be the best way to keep the blood from coagulating. So that book explored all the history and science behind some of our wackiest cures.
I'm seriously going to your list of books after this.
Yeah,
There's
some good
so
stuff
up
here.
my alley. Like I love interesting scientific and historical facts. And all right, so then the last thing, we want to let everybody know where to find. And do you do your illustrations in Substack or are they somewhere else?
I have some of my illustrations on my site. I post them for my articles too. Sometimes I will recycle some of my older illustrations. And most of my books are fully illustrated. So
okay, so they want your illustrations; they can get them in your books too.
Mhm.
And I'm grabbing
I'm
your
horrible.
Instagram.
I'm not. I know I should be on Instagram. I'm horrible at social media. I don't really participate, and I should. But yeah, no, you're gonna have, since I'm not really that popular on social media.
Well, now you guys, if you all go follow her there, like there'll be an explosion in activity. The algorithm will start showing everything she does to everybody, and she'll have to feed it with more cool stuff. So that's how you get Carlyn to do it. Well, this is great. And so we've got the Grim Historian. That was the one that I was looking at earlier. When I was looking at the nothing more terrifying than a thirsty tyrant on the brink. And so that one. Well, I think we've put it in here already, but I think we need to. Well, I've got the link to this specific one, but let me get the link to you. Look at this! How wonderful modern technology is. So this is at least one of them that I put. Oh, look at Jim. Jim is just quick on the draw, so you gotta love it.
Yeah.
And is
Cliff,
the other?
I'm so proud of you right now.
What?
Copying and pasting links and putting them into a chat. Look at you all grown up.
Bearded motherfucker. Okay. Beyond that, what is the what is the other one so we can share that? Is it a different, or is it they both come through this address, or is there a different address, different URL for your other?
I have another Substack called Conversations with Carlyn, And that is more cultural politics and also sex education.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
I've got that one, Cliff. I'll put it in the chat.
Lawrence goes to sleep to that one every night, so he's
You know, hey,
you know what I do? I get the MAGA people, the MAGA boys in, because they want my the sex education that they're not going to get anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as I get them in with the sex, I'm like, boom, politics, here you go.
But you know what? Like, it's funny, but actually that is what we need.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to bring them in through sex, bring them in through sports, bring them in through gaming, bring them in, all the things that we know that bring these guys in, and then subtly, you introduce your liberalism you're like, do you want those crazy right wingers to ban your sexuality? They would tell you that what you're doing right now would make you go blind. It did it to Mark Halperin. So I'm bringing all the strands of the show together. So
right. I think onanist. You need to call him an onanist.
That's a word I remember looking up at however many years ago. I'm like, oh, interesting.
Oh, you need to tell people what that is. It's what someone got caught doing on video.
Right. It's what Mark Halperin got caught doing.
Yeah.
And we're using the biblical term.
Yes.
I think he gets stoned for that.
Right. You can get stoned for that. In California, in several different ways.
Right. I don't mean like, he gets some gummies and goes and has a fun night watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I mean like stoned with stones. Right. Okay. So everybody's got all of this. We got all of Carlyn's information here. Subscribe. I mean, come on, guys.
Right.
Like, history, science, sex education, writing stuff to give boys role models. Like, I don't know. I mean, 47 books, as I said, and illustrations. And so please go follow Carlyn, go subscribe, do that now. Please also, you know where to find us. But if you don't, we are Blue Amp Media. It's just blueamp.co. We make it easy. We don't even do the .com because we're too cool for that. It's
right. Yeah, we want to.
We don't need the M. Fuck M. Right, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So subscribe to us, subscribe to Carlyn, and this has been a lot of fun, Carlyn. I'm glad that we talked about important political, historical facts, but I'm glad I really wanted to kind of know some of the other things, because it seems like you do so many interesting things. So really cool stuff in the cultural space, which we'll have to check out. So thank you for taking the time to be here on our wacky little show. I appreciate it.
Carlyn, it was so great to see you again.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And we will have to do it again, assuming you're okay with that.
Definitely.
And you can come back and share some sex ed with Lawrence, and, he can learn some stuff.
Yes. And then
I'm kidding, Lawrence. Lawrence took me apart for the tech, so I got to get my shots.
That's fine. I'm still now. I need to know where Napoleon's penis is.
Did Napoleon's penis have a Napoleon complex too? I don't know. Good question.
All right. I saw pictures of it, and it, formaldehyde does shrivel, but it was a little on the tinier side.
Oof.
Oh, it did.
Now we know. There you go.
I am French. What do you say about me? Okay. Guys, thank you for being here. Thank you to Carlyn and Beccia, the Sicilian. We're going to call her from now on. Awesome. Lawrence Winterman, COO here, host of the Daily Whatever, 10 a.m. on your local Substack channel every day of the week, except for Saturday when he sleeps in a bit. Got to let that beard grow, and he does it at noon.
Yep.
And, I'm just some asshole who's here. I am Cliff, and you can find me doing various things here. But as always, thank you so much for being here, everybody. And I think that will be the end of our broadcast. So, as we like to say, as the sun sets slowly in the west, my friends, I bid you a fond farewell.